Welcome to This is Concrete, a podcast where we speak with the people whose work revolves around concrete and coatings. Let's get to what you came for.
Hello, I'm Chad Gill, and I'm the host of the This is Concrete podcast. So this episode is brought to you by Concrete. Concrete is a custom concrete flooring company with more than a decade of experience in industrial residential markets. We help designers, architects, tradesmen, and businesses execute their designs by transforming plain concrete surfaces into enduring masterpieces. We are also sponsored by Laminate Coaching. We help with the development and implementation of remote staff inside your business. So if you're in the construction-related industry, we can help you. We do hiring, onboarding, and training assistance for roles like VAs, estimators, and coordinators. We can help you with your CRM and project management tools. And we customize and implement everything to the needs of your business. Okay, so today I want to introduce Kaushal Parikh of Impact Floors India Private Limited. So Kaushal is the company's founder and CEO. He's a graduate in commerce and has done his master's in financial management. It was his endeavor to create a company with a clear focus and vision in offering cutting-edge and state-of-the-art solutions for concrete floors. He has a specialization in ACI concrete flatwork and in the design of concrete floors and pavements. His personal hobbies and interests lie in travel. He's an extensive traveler and is a cricket enthusiast. Loves to play the game at every available opportunity, including tomorrow. He loves music and different vegetarian cuisines. So thank you, Kaushal. I appreciate you coming on with us and kind of tell us a little bit about what it's like in India.
Good morning, everyone. And thanks, Chad, for inviting me on this podcast. Really glad that you could do that. And in India, we've been in the business of floors for, I would say, two decades. Impact Floors as a company is established in 2008. So as a company, it's 15 years old, but we were part of another group company, which we sold in the 2010s decade. And that was in the field of waterproofing. And we had product sales where we would do fiber reinforcement sales and, giving solutions with products like armored joints and load transfer dowels and, dry shake toppings, and along with that, joint sealants. So everything to do with floors. And of course, not to forget, basically the surface treatments that included polished concrete. So we have been associated with WR Meadows as their business partners for the better part of 2 decades in the country now. And where we promote Liquihard and Enduroshine, which is their brands of product for surface treatments.
And so what came first? You started out doing the concrete placement and then moved into the treatments. Is that the direction you guys went?
But it was the other way around. We started with surface treatments, and we were giving products for in concrete floors, as I mentioned, fiber reinforcement and armored joints. So we were focusing a lot with architects and consultants and end users, like companies like Bridgestone Tires and Decathlon, Walmart. So we were giving Coca-Cola, some of the brands that I'm mentioning. We have Parley Biscuits here. We have Ashok Leyland, which is a large automobile group, Tata Motors, people with whom we've been associated for a large number of years for giving products and solutions. So a lot of the architects whom we were representing the products to get specified, they would say that, you're giving solutions with your products and, giving design estimations. Why don't you take this step forward and, construct the floor for us? That's where the idea came into play in 2005. And we started working in 2008. That's when we bought our walk behind laser screed from Somero.
Oh, wow. Yeah. There's a lot of those out there now.
Yes, there are quite a few. So we have a fleet of Somero laser screeds, and we have some Chinese make roadway company is the company which we use. So we have a mix of these two equipment suppliers who help us in the laser screeds. But we do floors with laser screeds and with truss screeds as a method of laying floors.
What was the hardest transition? Was it a fairly easy transition going from the surface treatments to the placement, or did you already know people? Did y'all do that through an acquisition, or just figure it out?
Well, it's we knew the architects and consultants, and we were, as I mentioned, we were in touch with the end users, so basically people who are developing projects. That helped us in positioning ourselves as a flooring company. It was a hard sell because back in 2000s, early 2000s, people were not using laser screeds. The first laser screed came in the country in 2006.
Wow.
That was that time, and we were the second company to own a laser screen. So it was ourselves were, you could say we were the early starters in the. But we've been, as I mentioned, we did have an edge. That's what I would at least hope to think that line that we would have an edge with meeting consultants and architects who would help us get repeat orders with clients such as Decathlons and Parley Biscuits and people like them.
Do you think there's a distinct advantage for you if you design and then place the concrete and then do the surface treatments? I mean, to go cradle to grave with it that way?
Well, not all floors that we build, or rather, let me rephrase this. We do surface treatments on all projects where we don't end up doing the floors. You can't do every floor everywhere, right? So the case was we were already sort of made peace with whatever floor we would get. Like we're just doing a project in Rajasthan, which is very close to Delhi as a state. It's about a couple of hours drive from Delhi, the project site. And it's being done with conventional floor laying systems. So where people don't use ride-on trowels, it's just a pan-finished floor and not hard trowels at all. So you have a lot of densifiers which are getting absorbed, and the surface hardness is very poor, although they've used dry shake toppings. So we do need to, as I mentioned, we need to sometimes make peace with what we end up getting. And it's a challenge. This is just one of the projects where we learn on the job. Some of our experience of doing floors with different regions. As India is a large country, may not be as large as the US or Russia, but it still is one of the largest countries in the world. And the regions from each region has a unique, I would say, aggregates and sand qualities coming in. So some regions we are very wary of, in doing work, because we end up getting, the surface the top skin doesn't basically harden up as quickly. So although you may check with your concrete strength, you will get a good concrete strength. Let's say you're doing a M30 grade or a 35 grade concrete, that you would achieve that in your cube strength. But the surface top skin is where the problem is, and it doesn't set that easily. It doesn't harden that easily. So we do face challenges. We have to do sometimes double treatments, 3 times the treatment, just to stabilize the surface skin so that it hardens enough, and then we can polish the floor.
And that's one thing you and I talked about. It's just a very different labor market. So, I mean, how large a floor are you talking about when you're saying that they're going to hand finish the whole thing?
This is a 150,000 square foot facility.
And it's all going to be poured hand finished?
Not hand finished. This has the traditional, what we call a traditional way, is basically the vacuum dewatered floor. If you've heard of this technology, where you lay with a beam screed, and then you suction out excess water from the surface by a vacuum press and vacuum machine.
Okay.
And then that sort of hardens the surface. It's meant to harden it. At least that's what the belief is.
It sounds like you may be a little on the fence about that one.
I'm not a fan of that system.
No, I understand. So what are the biggest challenges you run into doing what you do in India? Like, I mean, it's just, for many of us, it's just a very foreign, I mean, it is a very foreign market. You're quite a ways away. So I was just
Yes.
curious, what things are different and what things are the same.
Well, the the approach, I would say, of doing the floor, as far as surface treatments are concerned, surface preparations are pretty much same, I would say, anywhere you go, whether it's for epoxy screeds or resin-based products that you would have on surface treatments, or polished floors, where you leave the surface naked but treated at the same time with densifiers. Surface treatments, what we do is basically, if it's simple densifiers, as a normal matte finish or a semi-gloss sort of a finish, we use simple PVC pads as basically grinding resin based diamond grids to just lightly grind the surface, facilitate the pores to open up so that the densifiers can get in. Surface preparations are not very different. I mean, the equipments could vary. There are certain simple equipments which we end up using. You do, of course, have large grinders to do polished floors. We also use them in densifiers, in densification jobs. These are, again, the conventional old tech system. I would say the new tech is now using ride-on trowel polishing equipments, or attachments to grind the surfaces. That's, let's say, the newer approach of surface prep. So we have that as an option as well. We have a company called Concrea, which is present in quite a few countries. They have a good base in the country, and they have been promoting this concept quite well, and it's catching up pretty well in the country right now. Having said this, our approach is very simple. We actually check with with certain measurement tools that we have, how the surface is and what would be their projected consumption of the tools. We always insist for a mock-up. We get that signed off with the clients before, even if we are not part of the order. I mean, everybody does a mock-up and then gets a sign off, and then you move ahead.
That's it's one of the favorite things for jobs we're on that gets value engineered out. They're like, oh, we don't even do a mock-up. We'll do an area in the beginning, and it's mock-up is the best money ever spent. To just make sure you're talking about the same thing,
So what happens here in many projects, like right now we're doing another project in a place called Indore, which is in central India, in a state called Madhya Pradesh, where it's a textile manufacturing facility, and the client had a clause that although the floor was done by a flooring company, a specialist flooring company, the surface treatment was to be done by a different company. That's where we came into play. And the only aspect was that all the blemishes in the floor would have to be done, or would have to be taken care of by the surface treatment company. So they use steel fibers in the floor. So the steel fibers were coming out. So we had to grout the floor completely. We had to take in that cost. We had to take the cost of surface delamination. So the cost of delamination of the dry shake toppings, that had to be budgeted by us in certain panels. Joint fillers were giving away. We had to give that as part of our scope. So we had to price ourselves accordingly. They had defined us. I mean, initially we did a mock-up. It was simple, straightforward, job of surface treatment. Then the architect came into play and gave these points that you need to make the floor more robust. I would say more usable. So yeah, I mean, these things do come into play, and this is not the first time that we've come across this sort of clause. I don't know what happens in the US. Do they ask the surface treatment companies to take care of let's say blemishes on the surface, or is it part of the main flooring company?
Most of the times it becomes a very contentious process because and that's one of the things we run into a lot, and especially in concrete polishing, because you just don't remove that much. So when you're doing the polishing part of it, you may uncover a blemish, and then it's okay, well, where did that come from? It wasn't here when you started, and it's here now, so you must have done it. And you're like, well, we uncovered it, so how do you want to fix it? Can it even be fixed, in a reasonable manner? So it does become the cause for quite a bit of contention in many contexts. We try to get out in front of it. We try to use a lot of education to say, here's a lot of pictures from previous jobs. These are the kind of things that happen, particularly around edges and protrusions. These are the kind of defects you get. And it's funny because, a lot of times polished concrete is a very durable, industrial, budget-friendly finish. And then they take that and try to put it inside of a museum or a high-end financial office, and they don't understand, you take this rugged, great floor and you put it in a decorative place, and it's just a little bit different. It's like trying to have a really fast tractor, you're not using it for what it was meant for necessarily.
So it's great that you mentioned that, you're talking about decorative floors, so it's where we are looking at in a large way. And of course, educating the architects, especially the industrial architects and let's say the commercial architects. Commercial, what I mean is basically from home build offices, hotels, museums, so on and so forth. So the commercial architects may not understand the performance of polished concrete because they've not had an opportunity to use it the way the industrial architects have used it extensively or large areas. So they do understand the pros and cons of using these sort of surface treatments. And as we know that concrete will crack, it has a tendency to crack, it will shrink. You cannot stop this from from the nature, right? It's in its nature to sort of create certain internal stresses in the concrete to create the cracks which come in. So sometimes people in the homes, etc., may not understand or appreciate the shortcomings in the materials itself.
No, absolutely. I think there's trade-offs, and sometimes people think, well, it's going to look like terrazzo, and then they don't understand why it doesn't look exactly like terrazzo, and they forget it doesn't cost like terrazzo either. So there's stuff that goes there. Is power to, so are you mostly, when you're doing the concrete, are you guys doing a lot of cement replacement, or do you guys use straight cement for most of your mixed designs, or does it just vary?
We do not have a single recipe across the board. It varies from region to region. So we use GGBS slag cement in certain regions of the country. We use only OPC, ordinary Portland cement in most cases. We do not allow fly ash to be used in the floors. It's okay to use it in pavements, but not okay in interior floor applications.
What makes you shift away from fly ash in interior floors?
Again, the surface remains very soft. That's been the case. It's a lower strength gain. It's a slower, not lower, I beg your pardon, it's slower strength gain. So that's something which, when you're looking at opening the floor to traffic, because that becomes the platform for many times the electrical HVAC guys, the firefighting guys to put in their equipment, their pipelines, all of, many things still happening. And, the floor, once it's just getting cured, let's say, it definitely undergoes 2 weeks of, let's say, water curing. But post that, let's say it's reached about 70% of its, let's say, target strength. People still use this as a platform to do their activities, and that's the challenge. And if you use fly ash in the floor, the skin really doesn't set as equally or as quickly as you want it to. And it's definitely we've seen the surface flake. There's a lot of flakiness which remains in the surface, and it sort of wears off very, very quickly.
Is power trowel polishing starting to kind of really grow for you? Is that something that you guys just for the speed sake of it, or still more mostly grinders?
Well, speed wise, it's not the only way that you could achieve speed. I've done okay. Let me again put it in a different way. You need lesser manpower doing power troweling polish floors. You need hardly 3 or 4 people to cover, let's say, 5,000 square feet of a floor. The same thing, if I had to do it the conventional way, I'll need probably 7 or 8 people to manage that sort of an area daily, or maybe even 10 people to do that sort of an area. So definitely the head count reduces. But we've done floors where we've done with our conventional approach, and we've done 15,000 square feet a day, 20,000 square feet a day. And you've got to have a larger fleet. We understand that, but we can achieve the timelines that the clients expect us to.
And I think that's the main thing, being on schedule beats everything.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
So what happens, especially in warehouses, it's not such a big pressure comparatively in manufacturing facilities, but in warehousing, I don't know whether you are aware of this term. The people like the Amazons, and in India, it's the Flipkart, which is Walmart owned, of course, now, but Flipkarts and the Amazons and the Grofers, basically the online e-commerce companies, I would say, they want early access, dry access in the floor. If you are aware of this term, I don't know whether this is used in the US a lot, where before the facility is completely ready, they want to use the floor so that they can start putting their racks and their distribution systems whilst the other activity is still going on in the facility.
Are you guys pouring in those situations? Are they building the building, then pouring the floor inside of it, or are they pouring the floor and then building the building on top of it?
No, we always close the building. So the roof and the walls are closed. What they do need, if it's a large box, the structure is already up. The roofing would be done at least maybe 50% of the area. The cladding would be done maybe 30% of the area. That's when you start the floor, and everybody moves on simultaneously.
Yeah, we do a lot of data center work, and we're the first thing that goes in, and then they build everything on top of it. And
yes,
and it's tricky because you want to take, you're trying to protect the floor during that construction process. But the floor, you need the floor to do the construction, but you're trying to protect the floor during it. And so then you talk about overlays, but if you get into the overlay situation, you're no longer talking about a budget-friendly operation in that case.
Yes, I mean, data centers is something which is only coming in now in the country. At least in India, it's picking up. It's something which is not understood very well, but we have specifications which are coming in. People are looking at the British standards. If you know the BS 8203, the surface regularity specifications. I don't know whether you follow that. I guess you'll be following still the ASTM standards there, largely. So we follow a lot more the British standards along with the Indian standards.
Oh, good deal. Well, speaking of that, I know tomorrow is your birthday, and then you're headed out to play cricket. So yeah, would love to learn more about cricket. It looks like a very interesting, very passionate game. It looks like, to us, we look at it and go, "Oh, a strange way to play baseball."
Well, I have played baseball in my school days. In Mumbai, we were the only school which used to play baseball, and we would only compete with. We had school houses, so we had the red, blue, green, and yellow house. So we'd all compete internally for the because we had nobody else to play with outside of our school. So yeah, our school encouraged sports quite a bit, and I was passionate about baseball, and I got into baseball because of cricket. I have been playing cricket for many years now. Not been a professional cricketer, but it's been a passion. And thanks to my children, actually, I got out of the sport for a good 15 years, and I managed to reconnect with the sport after the school. Children went to school, and we had a dad's team, a school dad's team. So
Oh, nice.
in Mumbai, it's a big thing. So it's a big tournament which happens. It's competition which has probably about 64 schools competing against each other, and it's a big thing. It's great fun.
And that's the thing, it's work is work, but you got to have life outside of work. You're supposed to work to live, not live to work.
Absolutely. So I have a game tomorrow morning. Yeah, I have a game at 9 in the morning. Yeah, it's going to be a relaxed weekend.
Well, I wish you luck with it, and happy birthday to you. And I really just appreciate it. It's great to reach out and connect. I just want to learn more about what's happening around different spots of the country, different countries and stuff like that. There's a lot to be learned there, a lot of shared techniques. Sometimes you get into these and you find out you're way more similar than you thought, and then sometimes you're much more different than you knew. And in both cases, I think it's great to be reminded of that. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Really glad that you invited us for this discussion, and hope to connect with you very soon on this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kaushal, and again, good luck tomorrow on your game.
Thank you so much. You have a great weekend ahead.
We will do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to This is Concrete. We look forward to you joining us next time. Be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.